They're not asking. Let me just be honest. What the CDC is doing, this is why we sued them. The CDC closed cruise ships for 2 weeks, they claim, last March, and they're still closed. They will issue these fiats. It has no basis in science and certainly no legislative authority for them to be doing this. So they did a conditional sail order in October, and you physically couldn't sail a ship under those conditions. And so we were making no progress. So what we did in Florida, we sued the federal government and we sued CDC to liberate the cruise ships from, basically, this is just an administrative overreach. But, you know, the cruise ships are in a tough spot because the CDC, you know, they may have a role about, you know, enforcing certain things if there's an outbreak or whatever. I don't really know how far that authority extends. I know the authority doesn't extend to mothballing the industry for 15 months. And I know the authority doesn't extend to imposing effectively legislative requirements. And so I think we're going to win the case in district court. There was a mediation attempt. We were basically saying, like, honestly, just let them sail. Fine. But they're very unreasonable at DOJ. They believe, so the kids aren't permitted to be vaccinated under the EUA, and they're at such little risk, most parents are going to decide not to do that because you don't know what the potential problems are going to be. But CDC says that you have to have like 95% have to be vaccinated. That means you cannot have families going on these. And so they're issuing those dictates. And so if we win the case, it opens up. They will all sail out of Florida. They will all do it consistent with Florida law. We are not worried about that in any way, shape, or form. But just understand, this bureaucracy needs to be brought to account. You can't have a bureaucracy that's just going out and issuing these rules on the fly. They literally said, if you're sunbathing on a cruise ship, you have to wear a mask. Really? I mean, give me a break. And I think now with Fauci's emails, and you see all this stuff, it's pretty clear that a lot of this stuff was fly by the seat of your pants guidance. This was not based on hard data. In fact, there were people who were showing, pointing out about that this thing came from the lab. If you said that a year ago, corporate media said you were a conspiracy theorist. Facebook would deplatform you for saying that. Now, it's almost impossible to make the case it was natural because they haven't been able to do any linkage, and it's 15 months plus later. And so the lab leak is by far the most plausible explanation. And so we just have to ask ourselves, why was Fauci and these other people sending grants to Wuhan or some of these other places? I'm sorry, that is not an appropriate use of tax dollar money. And when he testified many years ago that doing gain-of-function research, the risk of having a pandemic is worth doing the research, I disagree with that. I think this has been a disaster, what's happened, and China has covered it up. They need to be held accountable, but the bureaucrats in the United States also need to be accountable for what they did.